I see you in every day.
The whole thing started when we met in high school. We jammed together a couple times just with our own projects, and it didn't really start becoming serious until about 2 years ago when I started trying to make electronic music. And I needed someone to sing because I didn't think the songs really stood that well on their own. She was the first person I thought of, so I called her up, and we started collaborating online. So I'd make a beat, and I'd send it to her, and she'd record vocals on her MacBook, and we'd never really be in the same room, but we'd have these songs that came out of it. It was a really cool process and something we'd never tried before.
And I could let you catch my eye if you belong enough.
About a year ago, we started taking it a lot more seriously. We changed our name to Data Romance, and brought a little bit more aggression to the sound and a full cinematic quality to it.
We started off and we were called Names, which leads to a lot of very confusing conversations, especially when it came to working with a label. They just said, like, you know, we can't talk about you guys to anyone. And mostly from our side, like connecting with fans, like, you know, the few that we had at the time, they couldn't find us anywhere. You can't search names on the internet. So then we just kind of went through, you know, 20, 30 different names, and came up with or found Data Romance.
What sealed the deal for me was realizing how fast we could work and how efficiently it was to be in a duo and to be making electronic music, because you get the finished product so early on in the process. I think that the trick is just to consider recording and live performance as two very different things. When we record, I think there's no real limits that we set on ourselves for how big the sound can get, because we don't have to pretend that we need to pull this off live, just the two of us. And I love layering and I love big cinematic sounds. So we don't hold ourselves back on that front at all. We let ourselves be as big sounding as we want. And for live shows, I think we will add more musicians as soon as it's, you know, viable. Right now we're just touring as a duo because we want to get exposed and play as many shows and run around as much as possible.
You catch my eye if you belong enough.
I think the songs on the EP were selected mostly because they showcase a range. They weren't meant to sound like all the same song, and I think you can tell that when you listen to it. They're different tempos, they're different aesthetics, and they're different levels of intensity. And we just kind of wanted to put it out there like a sample of what we can sound like. The reason we're sticking with EPs for now is just because we want to get our name out there and get content kind of out more frequently. We'd rather pepper like little, you know, four tracks here, 4 tracks there, and keep a consistent flow of content coming out to people rather than waiting a whole like year and just like holing up in a studio and then no one hears about us, and because people forget so soon these days.